Hello dear students. So today we will look these two topics, that is what is data mart and what is metadata. So let's start. So as you know that the data warehouse is built or the data comes from multiple sources, right? For example, Graphic Era University having several departments, right? So the data warehouse contains the data from various departments like Department of MCA, right, or the Department of BTech CS, right, or the Department of BTech ECE, right, or from the MBA department, right, or from the humanities department, or from the biotechnology department, right? So here, what is data mart? Data mart is a simple form of data warehouse, right? It is a simple form of data warehouse, means which focused on a single subject, right? For example, it focused on only MC department, right? Or it focused on only BTech department, or it focused on only a biotech department, right? Or a single functional area. So the data comes from the single functional area, such as in case of in case of any organization, right, the data comes from only sales or finance or marketing, right? So it is focused on a single subject, right? So it is often built and controlled, so it is built by a single department, right, or controlled by a single department within an organization, right? For example, there is one company, right, which have different departments, like sales, finance, or marketing. So this data mart is built and controlled by single department within the organization, right? So given their single subject focus, data mart usually draw data from only few sources, right? So few sources may be the single department, right? So the data can be drawn from internal operational systems, or it may be drawn from a central warehouse, right? Or it may be drawn from an external data, right? So it focused on a single subject, right? Now, how it is different from a data warehouse, right? So a data warehouse, as we have discussed earlier, that it deals with multiple subject areas, right? Means the data built and controlled from the different sources, right? So it is typically implemented and controlled by central organization unit, right? So the data comes from multiple subject areas and controlled by central organizational unit. For example, corporate information technology IT group, right? Or a complete university, right? Or a or a complete IT firm, right? Right. So it is often called a central or enterprise data warehouse, right? Right. Typically, a data warehouse assembles the data from the multiple source system. Means the data comes from data comes from IT department, or the data comes from marketing department, or the data comes from sales department, right? So it organizes such data and integrate the data, right, in the data warehouse. Marts are typically smaller and less complex than data warehouse, right? So hence these data marts are easier to build and maintain, right? So following a table illustrates the difference between a data warehouse and data mart, right? If you see the next slide, there's a table, right? And there are some features, means scope, subjects, data sources, size, and implementation type, right? So first there is a column of data warehouse and second column of data mart, right? So if you see the scope of data warehouse, right, so the scope exists in a corporate, right? Means the data comes from the multiple source and it is controlled by a central unit, right? It is controlled by central unit, right? Whereas in data mart, it is controlled by it is controlled by single source, right? For example, sales, right? For example, finance, for example, marketing, or MC department, BTech department, right? MBA department, and biotechnology department, right? Subject, data warehouse subjected to multiple sources, right? Whereas this data mart is subjected to single subject, right? In data warehouse, we can have multiple data sources. Multiple data sources means data can be in a text file, or data can be in a RDBMS, or a data maybe in a CSV file, or data may be in PDF file, data may be in image, data may be in video, right? But in data mart, the data sources are few, right? In data mart, data sources are few, so it is easily to maintain, right? Then what is the size of this data warehouse? The data warehouse typically varies from GB to terabyte, and petabyte, zettabyte of data are there in the data warehouse, right? Whereas in data mart, we have less than 100 GB of data, right? It contains not more than 100 GB of data, right? Now, what is the implementation time of data warehouse? The implementation time of data warehouse usually takes month to years, right? Because it has a huge amount of data, and it has many data sources and multiple subjects, so it may take around month to years, right? What is the implementation time of data mart? The implementation of data mart usually takes a month, right? So there are various types of data mart. So this categorization is primarily based on the data source that feeds the data mart, right? Where the data comes in the data mart. So this is the categorization, right? Which is which is primarily based on the data source that feeds the data mart, right? So we have three types of data mart here, right? One is dependent data mart, right? So one is dependent data mart, another one is independent data mart, and the third one is hybrid data marts, right? So what is dependent data mart? So it data is drawn from a central data warehouse, right, which is already been created. So this data where central data warehouse is already been created there, and we have to only draw the data, right? So this is the dependent data mart, means it is dependent on the central data warehouse which is already been created, right? Then next one is independent data mart, right? These are the standalone systems, right, which is built by uh, the data which is drawn directly from operational, right, or external sources of data, or you can take both operational and external sources of data, right? So this is independent data mart. Now what is hybrid data mart? So in hybrid data mart, we can draw data from operational systems or data warehouses, right? So it is a combination of dependent and independent data mart, right? The hybrid data marts, right? So in dependent, we can draw data from a central warehouse, data warehouse. In independent, we can draw data directly from the operational or external sources, right? In hybrid, we can use both, right? So this is a type of data marts. Now, if you see what is dependent data mart, so this dependent data mart allows you to unite your organization's data in one data warehouse, right? And it will give you the dependent departmental data marts, right? So the data comes from the operational sources, right? So data comes from the operational sources, means the external sources, right? These are the operational sources, means these are the sales, finance, marketing, and it unites the data in enterprise data warehouse, right? And it gives you the dependent departmental data marts, right, later on, right? Which fetch the data from the central data warehouse, right? So a dependent data mart allows you to unite your organization data into one warehouse, and after that you can fetch the data according to your need, right? Now, what is independent data mart, right? An independent data mart is created without the use of central warehouse, right? So this could be desirable for smaller groups within an organization, right? So this data. So if you see the independent data marts, so the data of this independent data mart is created directly from the operational sources, right? So we have the operational sources. So there is no central data warehouse in independent data mart. We can get the data directly from the operational sources. So we can create independent data marts from the operational sources. Okay. Now, what is hybrid data mart? Hybrid data mart is the integration of dependent and independent data mart, right? So it allows you to combine input from sources other than data warehouse. So the sources may be operational sources, or the sources may be enterprise data warehouse, right? So it is useful in many situations. It is useful in situation like if you need ad hoc integration, or if you need if any new group or product is added in the organization. So the hybrid data mart is best for that case, right? So in this we have the data from operational sources. So and we have the data from enterprise data warehouse, and we have the data from a dependent departmental data mart, so that we can create the hybrid data mart. So it is a combination of dependent and independent data mart, right? So we have all the operational sources here, enterprise data warehouse here, and dependent departmental data marts here, right? Now there is a process, right, which is used in independent and dependent data mart, which is called ETT process. It is called extraction, transformation, and transportation process, right? So it is uh, it it helps you to get your data out from the sources, right, and put it in the data mart, right? So this step is called extraction, transformation, and transportation process, right? So this involves the moving of data from operational systems, right? And then after that we have to filter the data. After that we have to load the data into the data mart, right? If you see with dependent data mart, the process is somewhat simplified, because the data is already formatted and summarized, and it is located already located in the central data warehouse, so that you can easily use that data, and ETT process is simplified in that case, right? With the in the independent data mart, you have to deal all the aspect of ETT process, right? Means the as you do in the central data warehouse, the number of sources is likely to be fewer, right? And the amount of data associated with this data mart is less than the data warehouse, right? Because you focus on a single subject, right? Then the motivation behind the creation of these two types of data mart are also different. A dependent data mart are usually built to achieve the improved performance and the availability of data. It is having the better control. It is having the lower telecommunication cost, which results to the local access of data, right, which is to the specific department, right? The creation of independent data mart is driven by that you need to have a solution within a shorter time, right? And hybrid data mart is simply the combination of these two, that is the independent data mart and the dependent data mart, right? So this is a dependent data mart, right? So correct this is the dependent data mart and independent data mart, right? Now the next topic is metadata, right? So what is metadata? Metadata is simply defined as data about data, right? So this is used to represent other data, which is known as metadata. The data which is used to represent other data, it is known as metadata. For example, the index of a book, right? So the index of a book serves as a metadata for the content of the book, right? So you can see the index of the book so that you can find out the content in the book, right? So it is a roadmap to a data warehouse, right? Metadata is a data warehouse that defines the warehouse object. Right? It also acts as a dictionary. This dictionary helps the decision support system to locate the content of the data warehouse. As the index of the book serves as a metadata for the content in the book, this metadata acts as a directory. That directory helps the decision support system to locate the content of data warehouse, right? So it acts as a directory. Now, types of metadata. There are three types of metadata. That is the operational metadata, extraction and transformation metadata, and end user metadata. Now, what are these types of metadata? First is operational metadata, right? So, as you know that data for the data warehouse comes from various operational systems, right, within the organization, right, which is having various different data structures, various field lengths and data types, right? So, this operational metadata contain all the information about the operational data sources, right? Then we have extraction and transformation metadata. So it gives you the information or data about how to extract the data, how to filter the data, how to transform the data, the extraction frequencies, extraction method, and the rules for data extraction, right? So it contains information about all the transformation that takes place in the data, right? Then we have end user metadata. End user data metadata means it is a navigational map of the data warehouse. It enables end user to find the information from the data warehouse, right? So how to find the data from data warehouse, right? So this is end user metadata. Now, why this metadata is important in a data warehouse? First thing is it acts as a glue that connects all the aspects of data warehouse. Next, it provides information about the data structure and all the contents to the developers that work on this data warehouse, right? So it gives all the information about the data. Finally, it opens the door to the end user and makes the content recognizable, right, in their own terms, right? So that's why this metadata is very important in data warehouse. Now, what is the role of metadata? So metadata has a very important role in a data warehouse, uh, which is different from the warehouse data, right? So the various roles of metadata are explained. That it acts as a directory, right, which gives the information about the data warehouse. It helps because it acts as a directory, so it helps the decision support system to locate the contents of the data warehouse, right? It is also used for mapping of the data when the data is transformed from operational environment to data warehouse environment, right? It helps in giving the summary between the current detailed data and highly summarized data, right? Metadata also helps in giving the summary between lightly detailed data and highly summarized data. It is also used for query tools, right? You can query on this data warehouse with online analytical processing, right? It also acts as an extraction and cleansing tools. It is also used as a reporting tool. Metadata is also used as a transformation tool by applying all the transformation functions. It is also plays an important role in loading the functions, right? So if you see the diagram of this role of metadata, it is used in various techniques. That it is used for transformation tools. It acts as a data mining tool. It is used as application and source system. It is used for query tools. It is used for loading the functions. It is used for extraction and cleansing. It is used for OLAP tools, right? It is used for OLAP tools. So this is very important diagram, right? And it this gives the role of metadata in data warehousing. So that's all for this video lecture. Thank you.